So for 3 years, I was basically a functioning alcoholic and drug addict from the time I woke up in the morning to the time I went to bed. So I'm from upstate New York. Lived there for 30 years of my life. Grew up on a farm, a lot different than what it is out here. You had to brake for cows and tractors more than you do people who don't know how to use their turn signals. My grandfather died at a young age. I was 4 when he died. So I don't really remember too much about him besides the fact that he always said I was as stubborn as the barn animals and someday it was gonna make me rule the world. 5 years ago, I had some pretty traumatic stuff happen, and I chose to turn to alcohol and drugs to kind of hide all the pain from it all. I drank, did tons of drugs. About 2 years, I hit rock bottom, and I couldn't even begin to tell you what was in my system. We had a random snowstorm, and I was wearing leggings and a t-shirt, and I was on some pretty heavy stuff at the time, and I kind of died. My friends found me a couple hours later, passed out in a snowbank in leggings and a t-shirt and Ugg boots, and they had to kind of warm my body up and bring me back through. So while I was unconscious, I saw my grandfather, who died when I was 4 years old. And he told me I had 2 choices. 1, I could go with him, or 2, I could go back, but he really needed me to go back. And I had no idea what that meant at the time, but for some reason I went back. And then a week later, these new friends that I had met for like 4 months that kind of drove me crazy, but they had this latent spirit about them that drew you in, even as annoying as they were. And they were just like, you need to come to church with us. And I'm like, no. And they were very persistent, pushy, obnoxious, persistent, and I ended up going. I could not tell you why, but I did. And I remember one of the lessons was about how sometimes our ancestors come back and visit us. And I'm like, kind of interesting. And so after church, one of them was like, do you have any questions? I'm like, actually, I do have one. He's like, well, that's nice. We don't have time to answer it. We'll meet with you tomorrow. I was so annoyed, but I'm just like, at the same time, I wanted to like know more. About 2 weeks after that, I gave them 30 days to prove them right and me wrong. And during all that, I had to do whatever they told me to do. And one was I had to give up all my alcohol and drugs. So cold turkey, I gave up drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, coffee and tea. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. You don't realize what that does to your body until all of a sudden it's gone. Knowing that Jesus Christ died for me is like one of those things that it's like somebody died for you without you asking them to. And I just remember when I was like unconscious or practically dead, it was very kind of cold and dark, besides the fact that my grandfather was there and the fact that someone did that for me. It just makes all the difference. And it just, knowing that you can just reach out and pray to him, or even talk to him, or sometimes argue with him if things aren't going how you want them to, that no matter what, he's still gonna love you and listen to you, is one of the best feelings.